push this to Facebook? I'm gonna leave that up to you.
Sure.
Okay.
We'll see how it is. Let's see how we do.
Cool. Well, I'm gonna push it. So we're gonna go with that Annette. So just hang tight. Got my screens all over the place. So, all right. Go to the Facebook group. All right, man. I think. All right, Seth. We're gonna be able to do Q&A too. So if people have questions, they can go ahead and post them. But we're gonna go ahead and get started. So Seth. So I don't know, Seth. Do I want to introduce you as the owner of a law firm or the owner of BluShark?
Depends on the day or the minute.
That's right.
You know, and at this point, they're kind of they're intertwined. So it's it's two separate entities, but the machine works together.
And I think most people know you. I mean, you're a known commodity in the group. Everyone likes you. Everyone respects who you are, and I think that's pretty awesome. I think the fact that you have the experience as running a law firm and also running a successful SEO company is pretty cool. And I guess I call it SEO company, but we were kind of talking about this yesterday. It's digital marketing, right? I mean, it's more than that. So let's talk a little bit about the firm.
That for geeks like us, the SEO part has two things that I like about it. There's more things you can do to get a competitive advantage. Pay-per-click, you can get margins, but you're cash out the door, and that the ROI you can eventually get from well done SEO eclipses generally what you can get from PPC.
All right, I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves though. I know I asked the question, but I want to step back a second. The people that don't know you though, let's go back to the law firm stuff. Like, talk about your firm a little bit, how you got started with that, and then I want to know how you bridged from law firm owner to SEO.
Sure. Well, look, I started this firm a little over a decade ago with a close friend from college and law school, Dave Benowitz. And we started the firm. It was the two of us in his basement. He's the lawyer's lawyer, loves courtroom. If you could be in the courtroom all day, every day, that's all he wants to do. And I was the opposite. When I was a lawyer at Big Law, I wanted to be a client. I loved the business side. I loved what they were doing. I didn't really want to paper the deals. I wanted somebody else to do that, but I was the low man on the totem pole, so that was my job. So we decided to divide and conquer. I would be the chief marketing officer, operations, and he would be the chief legal officer, meaning he goes to court and I would make the phones ring and use what I call the bat line. It was my cell phone, which went everywhere, and that was 24/7 answered. That's what we did. And early on, built a website. It was a $50 templated website. The phone started ringing. We picked up 12 to 18,000 a weekend just answering the phone on the weekends, and that was like a huge deal. Nobody else was hungry. We were able to do that. But I went back and relied upon an experience I had before starting the firm I was a founding employee during the dot-com bubble with a company called uslaw.com. And it was a precursor to FindLaw and Lawyers.com and Avvo. And the idea was matching consumers with different things. Lawyers, there was a directory, there were forms online, there was chat with a lawyer, all these things. Bubble burst in April of 2000. By January 2001, everything was gone. But I took those basic tenets of connecting consumers with legal prowess and leveraged that in building the firm. So it started a little dinky site. It did well. We promoted our clerk to full-time associate. We built a second website, opened another office, and slowly, organically, kept raising the game, building and optimizing websites. That was really the generation of growth for us. That's how we did it. We were able to compete in areas that didn't have as much competition. DC, well, it has a ton of lawyers, didn't have that many marketing for criminal defense. And what we went from there to Maryland to Virginia, and piece by piece, we put this together. So over the first 8 years of the firm or so, There was a consistent pattern. I think this will resonate with anybody in Max LawCon. Hired an assistant for $40,000, raised them to 45, got them to 50. They knew what they were doing. This is maybe 18 to 20 months in, and somebody would offer them 95,000. I'd be, damn it, and they would go off to that person. So I decided, hey, this went on literally 4 times. Every 2 years this would happen, and I had to find somebody new and train them. And I said, look, there's got to be a better way. That coincided with the fact that the team had grown to 8 people. So I woke up one day and had a $500,000 a year nut optimizing websites. And that's not nothing. So the combination of wanting stability of employee base and sort of sharing the wealth on that nut started BluShark, because what it allowed me to do was to keep the top talent, the evangelists, the people who are able to look at websites and dig deep and give analysis and figure out how to make things pop. And then we can leverage what turned out to be millennial labor. I didn't know this going in, but I walk into BluShark today and there are 2 people over the age of 30, not by choice. It's just a self-selecting crowd that wants to do what we do, but we've been able to keep and retain great, high-quality talent in a way that we couldn't otherwise. So BluShark has essentially allowed us to keep that great talent and then leverage the same fundamental skills and get them executed over the, across different platforms for different people around the country.
So it was something that you said was really interesting about, it reminded me of my days whenever I did criminal defense. I'd carry that damn cell phone around, on the weekends and answering the phones. Do you think that that's why, like, you had like a really complex intake setup with a call center, basically? Jim's talked about it before, you've talked about it before, and I know it's not a real call center, but you've got a room full of people that are doing intakes and answering phones. I mean, do you think that that's part of the reason why you do that, because you have the experience of being on the phone on the weekends when you were starting out?
Yeah, and look, it's not easy. I mean, people say, why don't you open an intake center? It's miserable, and it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. It's necessary. It's everything. There's a thread on Max Law on Facebook dealing with automated attendance versus not. I'm a big believer. I went to a guy at a marketing seminar in Virginia who talked about drip campaigns, and I looked at him like, I thought that was insane. To me, we spend so much effort getting the phone to ring. We're building content, we're building links, we're spending money, we're putting resources into it. The phone freaking rings. I don't want to spam somebody. I want to be able to call them back daily, check in with them. I want concierge service from intake so that we're able to connect. Is it perfect? No. And as you scale, it was me. I was pretty good myself. Scaled to one guy who was pretty good with 3. But as we moved from 5, 6, 7, it became, and now we're up to 11. There's a leadership issue. There's a training. It's true with everything, but I now have an 11th worst intake person. And I have the 11th most dramatic person, or the first most dramatic person, however you want to go. So each of that brings additional strains, but I still don't see a better way, if you want to scale, that is so important. Again, you want to use a contractor who does the first screening. There are plenty of people out there, but it's all about that interpersonal connection. And frankly, something that I struggle with as we've gotten bigger is keeping that quality up. No different than the SEO, being fully transparent. The SEO is an HR play. I put a sticker in my home office, which is while I believe that we are cutting edge and we do things better and very often earlier than other people, the fundamentals are well known at this point, and it's can you execute them? And I would argue it's not dissimilar for intake. If you could get the right person and put them in place, they can make you more money. And I've always been willing to invest extra dollars when I could find the right person, because my feeling is not dripping them, but rather continuing to connect with them gave us a better chance of closing than if they were just left and we spoke to them once and we hoped they got back to us.
So it's interesting. So with SEO companies, I feel like there's as many SEO people as there are lawyers these days. And you and I have talked about BluShark quite a bit. You spend a lot of money on BluShark. I mean, you want to do it the right way. I mean, I mean, I think you said like basically the rules are known. Is a lot of it just the legwork? Is that what needs to be done on the?
Well,
Is that what it is with SEO?
let's divide the question, because part when I first started thinking about Blue Shark, and I held off. I was like, I don't want to hurt I don't want to hurt Price Benowitz. I don't want to like have see that website fall because I'm taking my eye off the ball. And I waited a long time longer than I could have if I had wanted to start it earlier. But this is what I would do. I put in different categories. I'm not totally comfortable with this conversation, but let's do it. They're the people that just say they're SEO because it sounds like an easy buck and lawyers are an easy mark, and it's nonsense. There are people that you can pay that will not give you any content or any links. Some of the biggest companies out there, when you're paying some of those big public companies, you're buying multi-$1,000 packages that do not include content and do not include links. Or if they do, it's a few crappy blog posts a month that are not specific to the money areas you want, and maybe or maybe not any links. So to me, the first question is, if you're spending real money, and it's not like here I'm having a website and a web host for $500 a month, but if you're going to spend real money, the question is, are you getting any value? And we've seen people look under the hood when they come in. So the first question is it being done? Because like many things, and this is no different than your PI shop, you can theoretically save money by sitting on cases and settling what you can and kicking out. There are shortcuts that nobody will really know for a while. They'll figure it out. 18 months from now, you'll have a hard time getting new clients. You're not getting any referrals, et cetera. I get that. But the issue is it's a black box to most people. Now, there are basic things that people should look at. Are they getting monthly reports? Are they speaking to somebody? Is there a discussion of ideas back and forth? Are you getting content? Are you getting links? If you're not getting content, you're not getting links. I don't know what you're paying for. That's why some of these juggernauts out there that charge thousands of dollars, I don't get it. Now, again, there are a lot of other smaller good shops out there, but even within those, there are ups and downs. When you have a company, I met a company at a trade show, they have 100 clients and 10 employees. That's crazy. You can't, and with charging real money. To me, I have 45 people in-house, another 20 contractors plus doing all sorts of stuff. It's not that far away from a 1-to-1 ratio. And again, it is, if done right, it's not a high margin game because it is effort in, effort out. If you're putting the effort in, if you're doing these different fundamental pieces, you move the needle. And if you wonder, why is somebody beating me? It's generally they have more or better links and they have more authoritative content. Again, there are exceptions. There's some times when somebody has legacy time over you, et cetera. But generally, the algorithm is looking for quality and it is following user experience. So if you give the user a good user experience, generally that will work. When you build a new website, most lawyers are like, oh, it's beautiful. I'm set. I'm done. To me, that's the given. The question is, what are the nuts and bolts underneath it, and are they being executed on? Because if they're executed on, it's great. And if they're not, and again, even when you do it, it's not guaranteed to happen right away. It does take time. But once it clicks, it's a beautiful thing. And so when I said I delayed starting it, I know the problem is if somebody says, hey, my SEO isn't working. Is it not working because often people aren't doing anything or the right things, or is it not working because it just hasn't clicked yet? And that's I hate to be, I feel like it was, when I was in college and somebody I was trying to ask out was like, had just had a bad experience in prior relationships. And I was like, well, I'm different. And I was like, you don't want to, I never want to be the guy that says trust me, because anybody says trust me, you shouldn't trust. So it's like, don't trust somebody. What's being done? It's great that you like a sales rep and they're cool and they're simpatico, but you see the content that's going up on your site. Is it high quality content that's going to move the needle, or is it just a random blog post to check a box once a month?
I love it. So I don't want to get too much into what the SEO nuts and bolts, because you're going to cover all that. You and Nalina are going to cover that, or you or Nalina will cover that at Max LawCon, because you're going to get into the fundamentals. You're also going to get into the more advanced stuff. So I want to skip away from that for a second. And I know that we're on a sort of a tight time schedule with you, but I want to talk about Dane Phillips before we get out of here, because it's a really interesting story for people that don't know about it. You want to talk a little bit about Dane?
Sure. Dane, but for Max LawCon or Max Law, the podcast, we would not know Dane. Dane heard me on an early podcast and cold called me and said, "Hey, I want to work with you." And I'm like, "You're in South Carolina. What do you mean you want to work with us?" And he was at a firm as an associate and not loving life, and said, "I want to do it." So I said, "Okay, here's a ticket. Come on up. Let's sit down and come visit the firm. If nothing else, I have a referral contact in South Carolina." And this guy comes up, and you've now met him, and he is just an amazing guy. Just, one of those guys that say, "Can't teach hungry." This guy's hungry. And we were able to set him up with a operation that was basically opened an office in South Carolina for lack of. We had the systems, we had the marketing that drove the calls, we had the answering, we have the back end, the processing of cases, the paralegaling, the collections. All these things were there, and it was just one of those serendipitous things that's turned out to just be a blessing. I can't put it any other way. Like, he comes up and don't see him on a day-to-day basis, but the guy is kicking butt and taking names, and he's essentially created the best of both worlds. He has his own practice, but he's part of our firm. He's a partner of Price Benowitz, but at the same time, he's essentially kept the best of an interpersonal connection within the criminal defense community in South Carolina, but has a big firm over him. So it's been something that has been one of my proudest sort of like everything coming together achievements, to be able to get somebody and take them from nominal income to really good six-figure income, and allow that person the autonomy and independence, while at the same time not being on an island by themselves, but having this whole virtual family around them, in a way not dissimilar to the community that you've built with Jim, in the sense that we have all these people around the country that have their own issues and problems and great things happening to them, and we're able to share it. And that even though it's not a big law firm, you have all that. So anyway, a huge thing. We're incredibly grateful that the serendipity of a podcast with you and the would lead to somebody who's become one of our favorite people at the firm.
I mean, I'm sure that if you could clone him, you could. I mean, what do you think? I guess, what do you think makes him so special? Because I bet if you could get a dozen of Danes, you would in a heartbeat. I mean, so what is it that really? What do you think it is?
Look, for me, we've scaled. We have almost approaching 40 lawyers now, and the thing that I've always said to the average person that we sit down and talk to, interview with, is it's a self-selecting process. And it's sort of self-selecting for you. You're a badass. You've figured stuff out. Your competitive advantages. You've created all sorts of systems and VAs and all sorts of things that the average lawyer doesn't even know couldn't even imagine what you've done. So here, what I feel like is, I know that it's a self-selecting group. In a way, he's the South Carolina Dave Benowitz, where it's somebody who just wants to practice law. There's going to be some administrative stuff. You got to get your retainers through, and you got to collect money and things like that. But in general, I think the part that I've liked is people who want one piece of it. Everybody on the Max Law thread and who come to the conference, they're trying to build their business, but it's not for everybody. And I think that what we have offered Dane, and we have a few other Danes in the offing that we've sort of in the process of looking at other markets and other cities. But what it comes down to is somebody who wants the benefit of that, who isn't you, who's not somebody who's going to drive their, you have a vision, you know where you're going, and you're particularly good at those systems and putting those all together. I guess for me, it's going to be finding the people out there that have that drive and ambition, but want to sit there focused on signing clients and going to court, and not on the rest of the legal world that we spend all of our time talking about on Max LawCon.
All right, man, I love it. Let's wrap it up. Tell people how they can find you with BluShark.
Well, look, Google BluShark. It's BLU, Noe, Shark Digital. People, I'm on Facebook. I think the easiest way is ping me on Facebook, direct message me, friend me, whatever. As I said, within this community's meant a lot. What you guys have done meant a lot. a lot of people, they're not clients, they have questions, how do I do this or that? I don't sleep a lot, so ping me, and I promise I will get back to you with whatever wisdom I can impart on whatever digital and/or managerial issue you're dealing with. I love, Tyson and I talk about a lot of the stuff, not on a recorded session, and we should have recorded this because part of it is the bouncing of ideas back and forth with somebody who doesn't think exactly like you but is thinking outside the box has been such a great ride. Cannot wait for St. Louis, and appreciate you guys greatly.
Awesome. Thanks, Seth. It's great getting to know you over the years, and we met each other through John Fisher, through his mastermind experience. So a lot of shout out to John. We were complimenting John Fisher yesterday. John's amazing. So it's been great becoming your friend, and it's great having you at the conference. And so you're one of the main sponsors. So I want to make sure everyone reaches out to you because we couldn't put on MaxLawCon without you. So we really appreciate it. So.
Thank you so much, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
All right, man. Let's wrap it up and have a great day.